Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting. The other members of the crew are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed.
I'm Samuels. I work for the company. It's about your mother.
Welcome to Sevastopol Station. You're home away from home.
Ripley, I hope to God you can hear this. Something's gone wrong.
We get to shut the book. Ripley.
When you play a video game, what is it that makes it stand out? Is it the graphics? Is it the story? Is it the gameplay? Or is there a certain feeling that the game just has to create for you? In today's day and age, where video games are not only more accessible, having been put on so many different platforms, there are just so many games coming out constantly, filling up the video game libraries. It's therefore no surprise that most of these games will sadly go on to be forgotten, as they were unable to leave a lasting impression in their respective genre. However, there are those select few games that will go on to live long in our minds for years to come, and Alien Isolation, the impact that this game had on the horror community, and honestly, the gaming community as a whole, has gained its spot in the history books of video games. The terrors that this game creates are amazing, and the connections and imagery that tie it back to the original film made this game extra special. Now, I've never really been drawn to astronaut stories like this. The whole stranded on a spaceship, stuck on an alien planet isn't necessarily my cup of tea in terms of the setting, unless of course it's in the goofy, lovable charisma that Doctor Who creates it in. But with my love for the Dark Pictures anthologies, and with Season 2 coming out with Directive 8020, a horror story set in space as astronauts are waking from hypersleep, I decided I should probably get into the spirit of things, to which you all immediately suggested that I play Alien Isolation, and well, I'm sure you can all tell how well that went. Where's my gun? I'm dead. 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 No! Oh my god, I didn't see it. Never mind.
Oh, you are creepy.
This game is nightmare-inducing, and the horror elements that the gameplay have to offer are, by and large, the first and possibly the last thing that many people will think of when this game is mentioned. But there's something else that I want to talk to you about today that's quite a unique situation this game put me in, where I ended up not caring about the story. So much so that I don't fully know what even happened in it, especially in relation to the characters of Samuels and Taylor. It's not just that I'm forgetting with the passage of time, it's that I was actively struggling to keep up with the story during my gameplay due to the distraction that the horror elements created. But is this necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. So hey everyone, it's Soul here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we jump in, please remember to hit that like button, click subscribe to see more videos from me, follow me over on Twitch, and leave a comment down below. Here is your one and only warning, that this video contains spoilers. Alright, find a locker, strap on your helmet, and let's stop hiding. Alien Isolation came out back in 2014 and is set as a sort of sequel to the 1979 horror movie Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. In the game, we get to follow the story of Amanda Ripley, the daughter of Ellen Ripley, who is the sole survivor of the incident that occurred on the Nostromo in the original film, as she searches for information relating to her mother's disappearance. The story itself starts off simply enough, as Amanda is informed by her android coworker Samuels that the black box data for the Nostromo has been recovered and taken in to Sevastopol's station under control of the Seegson Corporation. Amanda, of course, immediately jumps at this opportunity, although she doesn't go alone. Not only does Samuels end up joining her, but Taylor, a legal representative for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, ends up joining them as well. Yet, as the trio make their way to the station, they soon realize that something is terribly wrong. They're unable to communicate with the station, they're unable to dock alongside it, and so the three of them set out on a bit of a spacewalk to try and enter the station. But their EV line being cut forces the three of them to enter separately, and in this first-person horror game, you enter into this dark, grimy, and daunting hallway. The sharp contrast to the pristine, clean hallways from the previous ship versus the destroyed and graffitied hallways that we're seeing now created an instant feeling of immersion in this world. Seeing the survivors run by in a panic had me very uneasy. But despite this being the beginning of the story, looking back at it now, I was already slowly starting to lose interest in the actual story components. The multitude of connections tying it back to the original film had me absolutely terrified and distracted. Having just watched it before playing this game, every single room that I walked into, I was anticipating the alien's sudden arrival. Every single vent that I had to crawl through chilled me to my bones, thinking that it would sneak up behind me. The detail in not only the settings for this game, but also the tools and equipment that you go on to use connecting it to the original was incredibly well done and yet utterly terrifying for me. I actually find it quite clever that the developers added in all of these tiny details that remind us that have seen the film of what is eventually to come, while creating a nice and gentle intro for newcomers to the story and world. As we meet Axel here, he goes on to tell us that humans have sadly done what we always do in terms of survival situations, which is branch out into their own groups and then fight each other over resources. But despite all of this development in the story and the situation, I just couldn't stop thinking about the alien. When would it show up? I couldn't seem to focus on the dialogue that's occurring right in front of me, and I was definitely missing out on some details for the world building. Now, I have seen some criticism online about this intro section being too long, and that the arrival of the actual xenomorphs is a bit late in the game. On one hand, I partially agree, but on the other, I kind of feel that this anticipation for the alien's sudden arrival and their decision to delay it for as long as possible, in a lot of ways made this game a bit better. As I pushed forward in the game, this strange sort of nuanced feeling occurred where I was waiting for the alien around every corner, but then I also wasn't waiting for it at all because it hasn't shown up yet. I got so used to waiting for its arrival and then seeing that it's not arriving yet, so then when it did actually arrive, it was absolutely terrifying. It is a bit of a weird situation that this has caused, and I don't think everyone is going to feel the same way here, but at least for me, the buildup of tension definitely paid off. But while that point is continuously debated about online, in my opinion, the best thing they decided to do was to show us just how brutal the xenomorph actually is during Axel's death scene without fully revealing the creature yet.
I hear something. Axel?
I really thought that from this moment on, the creature will be chasing after me. We would be pursued by these aliens, and yet they still decided to delay its arrival until later, only adding to the chaos and tension that I was feeling while I was being chased by all of these survivors. This scene also connects really nicely to the original film, as it clearly drew inspiration from this moment right here. So once again, those of us that saw the film will have known what is coming, making this all the more impactful. When we do get the grand reveal of this terrifying creature crawling down from the vent, it does not disappoint. All of that tension was building up, and there was a brief moment that I thought maybe it wouldn't pay off, but it most certainly did. Because of all the tension I had been feeling, I didn't know exactly when it would appear, and when it did, it really caught me off guard. Not to mention, the way its tail snakes down as you're hiding under the desk is absolute nightmare fuel. And from this moment on, I was shaking in my seat for the rest of the gameplay. But sadly, with the arrival of the xenomorph here, that is the moment that the distraction shifted into full gear. From this moment on, despite all of my attempts to continue reading all of the notes, to continue following along with the story, no matter how minor of a detail it is, to find every single poster and note that adds to the overall world building of this game and the story, I could not pay attention. I was so worried that this creature was going to sneak up on me when I was reading a note. I was so scared to open up my inventory and check my map, even when I was hiding, just because I thought this creature would come and attack me. The level of anxiety that this creature caused me to feel is definitely distracting, and it caused me to only focus in on the necessary codes and passwords in order to unlock the doors to get the heck out of there. It's because of this insanely impressive AI that this game is so memorable amongst so many people. This AI is nothing to be laughed at. There are full breakdowns of this online that I will leave linked below, because to me, as someone that doesn't really know the computers and developmental side of video games, this is insanely impressive. And the AI of this creature had me terrified because it made me realize how repetitive I was in my gameplay style. I'd normally prefer to just run away from any situation and get to the next cutscene, but here we are forced to sneak by. While you think you might be safe when hiding, the creature has a habit of spawning in where you just previously hid, so that you can't hide in the same spots over and over again. And while I've been so used to enemies having a set walking pattern, where you can kind of sprint by them when their backs are turned, this game has an enemy that is actively changing its walking pattern depending on where you are and what you are doing, as it hunts you down these hallways. The game then goes on to give you an additional challenge here in terms of the tools and resources that you find and make. You had to really strategize on which tools and equipment you would use in which situations. I found myself constantly strategizing on what tools I would use when, as I was just walking into these hallways not knowing exactly where I needed to go. I would throw the flare this way if it came through the vent, or I would use one of the sound speakers and toss it down the hallway to distract it out of my pathway. This constant strategizing and panic over what might happen is something that I started to notice occurring a little while into encountering the alien. It's because of all this strategizing, because of all of the terror I was feeling due to this alien, that I just had no clue as to what exactly was going on with Samuels, Taylor, and all of the other survivors on the station. The best example I can probably give for this is that I just believed Samuels was evil because of the fact that he was an android and all androids were turning.
So now he's gonna turn evil.
I believed what the game was implying without giving it a second thought because I just didn't have time to think, and then to see his sacrifice in that moment was absolutely shocking to me. I didn't get to see his true story, the full character arc of Samuels here, because I was just so caught up in trying to escape and survive facing this alien. And the same sadly goes for Taylor here. Hearing these audio recordings of how she is plotting against us, trying to get not only the information related to Nostromo, but also to rescue this alien and bring it back for Weyland-Yutani corporations, I just couldn't care less at this moment. So I definitely missed quite a lot of crucial elements to her story as well. And what's crazy to me looking back at it all is that you can't even say that the story is missing, because of how frequent the developments occur with this story. You are constantly getting these video calls and radio messages from the other characters, And with this frequency, the story is definitely prominent. However, it still ends up taking a backseat in comparison to the impressive and terrifying AI. The same sort of neglect that I gave to Samuel's and Taylor's story, I ended up giving to the survivors as well. When we are working with the survivors to create this trap in order to get the alien off of the station, I don't even know who we were working with. I was struggling to keep up with these names, and I ended up doing the same thing I did previously, which was just running for my life trying to escape the xenomorph. As Ripley successfully traps and launches the alien out into space, narrowly escaping death herself, as she climbs back on board, the silence, the peace, and the tranquility immediately set my nerves on edge. This felt like such an endgame moment. We had this giant explosion after this crazy, tense moment with the alien here, so I should be feeling a lot safer, and yet, knowing that we still hadn't obtained the black box data, knowing that we were still separated from our group, we still had quite a lot of game to get through. This is also the first of 2 other times that the game gives you this sort of false sense of security that immediately made everything feel unnatural in this area before the truth comes out and the danger of these androids are made known. It was at this point in the game that with all of these androids, I really tried to focus back in on the story, but once we found out that there was more than one xenomorph on board, everything I was trying to actively learn about and pay attention to just instantly dropped out of my brain. As we enter into the 3rd act of the game here, we go on to encounter quite a lot of chaos and action, and it, in my opinion, is really nicely done. We have the whole hatching grounds for these xenomorphs, we have this explosive attack on the xenomorphs, we enter into the core of this situation, we have Taylor somehow redeeming herself, we try to stop Marlowe, we failed to stop Marlowe entirely, and yet the station is falling out of orbit, and in this final moment, as Amanda Ripley is on the side of this station, trying to escape with her life with the xenomorphs crawling in space without any sort of spacesuit, by the way, they are just totally fine without oxygen here. Amanda Ripley makes one final stand before she eventually gets lucky enough to escape the doom and demise of the station as it burns up, falling from orbit, while Ripley gets to the safety of Verlaine's ship. Similar to before, that ominous and unnatural feeling crept in. I couldn't help but wonder, why didn't the game end right there? However, with this terrifying jump scare that affected me way more than it probably should have, it's revealed that a xenomorph has made it on the ship, and in one swift decision to defeat this creature, Amanda Ripley tries to launch it out into space, causing herself to also get dragged out, doomed to drift forever in the emptiness of space. That is the ending of Amanda Ripley's story in Alien Isolation. I was absolutely shocked at this ending. I had no words. I just couldn't believe that after all she's been through, after how much work she's put into fighting all of these creatures, she still didn't make it out of this alive. I mean, the theories and the hope is that perhaps this glimmer of light is a ship coming to rescue her, but the chances of that are slim. They have recently announced that there is a sequel in the works, so I can only hope that some way, somehow, Ripley ends up surviving, and that this is not the end of her story. Yet despite how frustrating this ending was the first time I saw it, it is a major talking point in relation to this game, and it is part of the reason as to why this game is so iconic and memorable. But aside from this mysterious and grand ending to this fantastic game, you might have noticed that I left quite a few plot points out of that ending recap. And that's because, well, frankly, I missed so much information. Aside from the fact that I didn't really backtrack to the different areas because I didn't realize that I could, and frankly, I was playing this game on hard for some reason, and I just didn't want to face the alien any more than I already had to, so I missed out on a lot of extra world building and detail pertaining to all of these other survivors and side characters. I also don't know why I played this game on hard. I kind of regret it, but I did end up turning off the microphone feature since I do play these games on live streams with you guys. I wanted to be able to chat with you instead of having to be quiet during every single sneaking section. So perhaps playing this game on normal would allow me to have the space and time to actually pay attention to the whole story, even for that of the side characters. But I guess we'll never know. Now there's one final question that I want to break down here. Is the distraction of the alien inherently bad? No, I don't think so. As someone who really enjoys narrative-heavy games where the gameplay elements take a backseat to the narrative points, I find myself genuinely surprised that I like this game so much, despite the fact that the story is overshadowed by the horror and gameplay elements here. For the first time ever in a AAA game, I found myself staying for the gameplay rather than for the story. And to make this situation even stranger for me, I find myself saying that I don't think there should be any more added story elements to it. The story, as I previously said, is still very much there. And in my opinion, the fact that the story is hidden underneath the horror of the alien only adds to the replayability of this game. The amount of times I have found myself wondering if I should go back and play this game again to try and find every single note that I missed, to go back and actually study and analyze the characters of Samuels and Taylor has been quite frequently. The only thing holding me back, of course, is the terrifying AI that this game has to offer. Now, as always, this game is art, and art is therefore subjective, so we are not all going to agree on this matter, but at least for me personally, despite the fact that the gameplay absolutely distracts from the rest of the story that this game has to offer, despite the fact that yes, the pendulum swings more to a gameplay-heavy game rather than one driven by the story, I had an absolute blast. The gameplay isn't just terrifying, it's challenging, it's tricky. You have to strategize, and it always kept me on my toes, which made it 10 times more fun and enjoyable to play through. And for those of us that want to search for the story, the fact that this game has such a well-written story hidden in the depths for those that are willing to linger and try and ignore this distraction here makes this game incredible. So it's no surprise that Alien Isolation will live on in the history books of horror for years to come. So with that, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider hitting the like button down below because it helps me out a lot. This video was supposed to come out leading up to the release of Directive 8020, however, with the sudden setback yet again for the game's release, I decided I'm not going to wait any longer to get this video out to you guys. So I hope you enjoyed hearing all of my thoughts on this. If you did make it this far into the video, let me know by leaving a little alien emoji in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, click subscribe to see more videos from me, and turn on notifications if you want to be notified whenever I post a new video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you future souls next time. Bye, guys!